You see, what makes you perfect is not your ability to avoid failure. It's your courage to rise after it. It's not in your flawless smile, it's in the scars you carry with grace. I want you to know you are not defined by your setbacks, your past, or the voices that told you you're not enough. You are defined by your will to keep going, by your heart that still believes, by the light you choose to carry, even when the world tries to dim it. So if you've ever felt less than, hear this clearly. You are not just enough. You are beautifully, powerfully, purposefully perfect just as you are. Your imperfections are your strength. That sentence might sound contradictory in a world that teaches us to hide our flaws, to erase our scars, to filter our lives until we look like someone else's definition of perfect. But have you ever noticed that the people who inspire us the most aren't the ones who have it all together? They're the ones who have been through pain, fallen apart, and still found a way to rise again? That's not despite their imperfections. That's because of them. We live in a society that celebrates perfection on the surface. Smooth skin, perfect grades, unbroken families, curated success stories. But real life doesn't work like that. Real life is messy, it's uncertain, it's filled with mistakes and regrets and learning curves that nobody warned us about. And when we try to hide the mess, when we mask our truth just to fit in, we lose the very thing that makes us human. We lose our edge, our voice, our authenticity. You were not created to be flawless. You were created to be real. And real comes with dents. It comes with chip edges and broken pieces. But those imperfections, those cracks, they are where the light gets in. They are what make you relatable. They are what connect you to others. People don't connect to perfect, they connect to honest, to raw, to real. Think about the most difficult moment in your life, the time you felt like everything was falling apart. Maybe you failed, maybe you lost something, maybe you were rejected or overlooked or betrayed. In that moment, you probably thought you were breaking. But look at you now. You didn't break. You became stronger, you became wiser, you became more compassionate. And all of that came from what didn't go right. There's beauty in your struggle. There's power in your flaws. And sometimes the very things you try to hide are the things that will one day help someone else heal. That scar you carry, emotional, physical, or spiritual, is not something to be ashamed of. It is proof that you survived. It is proof that you endured what should have crushed you, and instead, you came through it more aware, more grounded, more resilient. We are so quick to apologize for who we are. We downplay our differences. We silence our stories. We try to blend in when we were born to stand out. But every quirk, every flaw, every moment you thought disqualified you, those are the things that make you unique. Those are the fingerprints of your journey. And what's more powerful than a life that's been lived fully, honestly, and unapologetically? Perfection is not the absence of flaws, it's the presence of authenticity. It's waking up and choosing to show up, even when you don't feel ready, even when you're scared, even when the world tells you you're not enough, because deep down you know that your value doesn't come from perfection, it comes from your perseverance. It comes from your ability to feel deeply, to break beautifully, and to rise again with purpose. So the next time you find yourself doubting your worth because of your imperfections, remember this. Your scars tell a story of survival. Your flaws reveal your courage. Your vulnerability showcases your strength. You are not perfect in the way the world defines it. And that is exactly what makes you powerful beyond measure. Pain is the birthplace of purpose. It's not something we want to hear when we're in the middle of it, when our hearts are heavy, when our plans have shattered, when the silence is louder than our prayers. But it's the truth we come to understand only after the storm has passed. Pain is not the end of your story, it's the beginning of something deeper, something real, something transformative. When everything around you falls apart, something within you begins to awaken. You start to question not just the world, but yourself. Who am I without the things I've lost? Who am I when the mask slips and I can't pretend I'm okay? Who am I when I am stripped of comfort, routine, and certainty? And in those questions, you begin to uncover the pieces of yourself that were buried beneath the noise. You discover strength you didn't know existed, to find out what really matters. You learn that survival is more than just breathing. It's choosing to keep going even when your soul is tired. The world has taught us to run from pain, to numb it, to silence it. But pain is not our enemy. It's a mirror. It reflects what's broken, what's buried, what's longing to be healed. And in facing it, not avoiding it, we start to transform. Pain humbles us. It grounds us. It makes us more compassionate, not only toward others, but toward ourselves. It strips us of ego, of pride, of the illusion of control, and introduces us to our real selves, the version of us that feels, that hopes, that breaks, and still loves. Purpose doesn't always arrive dressed in glory. Sometimes it comes wrapped in grief. It shows up in a hospital room, in a goodbye you didn't see coming, in the loss of a dream you nurtured for years. It comes in the form of tears and long nights and aching questions. But eventually, as time passes, the pain becomes something more. It becomes a path. It becomes a lesson. It becomes a message that your soul begins to speak fluently. Some of the most powerful voices in the world are not those who have had an easy life. They are the ones who walked through fire and came out carrying water for others. They are the ones who know suffering and still choose kindness. They are the ones who've been broken and still choose to build. Because pain, when embraced and understood, turns into wisdom. It turns into empathy. It turns into purpose that transcends personal comfort and becomes a mission to help others heal. There are moments in life when we wish we could go back to before the pain, before the loss, before the heartbreak. But if we did, we would never become who we are meant to be. We would never learn the strength that only comes through suffering. We would never understand the depth of healing that can emerge from deep wounds. And we would never know the power of using our pain to bring light into someone else's darkness. When you've walked through something hard, you begin to speak with a different kind of authority. Not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that speaks directly to the heart. People can feel it. They can sense when your words aren't coming from theory, but from experience. They trust you because you've lived what you speak. You've tasted bitterness and still offer hope. You've sat in the ashes and still choose to rise. Pain gives birth to purpose, not because it's beautiful in itself, but because it changes you. It cracks your heart open. It softens you. It sharpens you. It refines your vision. It pushes you to ask, why am I here and how can I use this? And in searching for those answers, you stumble upon something sacred. Your calling, your mission, your reason to keep going. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's power. In a world that tells us to stay strong, to keep smiling, to act like everything is fine, choosing to be vulnerable feels like standing naked in front of a crowd. It feels like exposing the very parts of yourself that society told you to hide. But true courage isn't found in pretending to have it all together. True courage is found in showing up fully and honestly, even when you're trembling inside. From a young age, we are conditioned to wear masks. We're taught to suppress our emotions, to be tough, to never let anyone see us cry. But the more we hide, the more distant we become from others and from ourselves. We start to believe that our feelings are too much, our stories too messy, our wounds too embarrassing, so we shrink, we perform, we protect ourselves behind layers of perfection and pride. And in doing so, we lose touch with the very parts of us that are capable of connection, healing, and deep transformation. There is a sacred kind of strength in vulnerability. It takes far more courage to say, I'm not okay, than to pretend that you are. It takes far more strength to open up about your fears, your struggles, your disappointments, than it does to smile through the pain and keep it all inside. Vulnerability allows us to be seen, not just the highlight reel, not just the accomplishments, but the whole, unfiltered self. And that's where true connection is born. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we create space for others to do the same. We give permission for authenticity. We dismantle the illusion that we all have to be perfect to be worthy. Vulnerability says, I see you, even in your brokenness. It says, "You're not alone," even when everything inside you says you are. It bridges hearts, it builds trust, it breaks down walls that years of pain and silence have built. Many people think being vulnerable is about oversharing, about spilling emotions everywhere, but that's not the point. Vulnerability is intentional. It's about being honest with yourself and with others. It's about saying, this is who I am right now, this is what I feel, this is where I struggle. And in doing so, you become more real, more grounded, more human. You stop performing and start living. It's easy to admire people who appear strong, who never falter, who seem invincible, but we connect with those who are real, the ones who have fallen and gotten back up, the ones who admit they're still figuring it out, the ones who cry and laugh and stumble and keep showing up anyway, because in their honesty, we see ourselves, we recognize our own humanity. We begin to believe that maybe we don't have to have it all together either. Some of the most impactful moments in life come not when we're standing tall and unshaken, but when we allow someone to witness us in our weakest hour. When we say, "I'm afraid," or "I need help," or "I'm not sure how to keep going." And instead of rejection, we're met with understanding, with love, with support. That's the power of vulnerability. It invites healing, it builds bridges, it opens the door to grace. You don't have to hide your truth to be worthy. You don't have to be unbreakable to be strong. Your vulnerability is not a flaw to be fixed, it's a gift to be embraced. It's the gateway to your most authentic self. It's the birthplace of empathy, courage, and deep connection. And the more you allow yourself to live from that open space, the more you'll realize that being seen fully and completely is not something to fear, is something to honor. Your story is your superpower, not the filtered version you share on social media, not the chapter that sounds polished and impressive, but the raw, messy, honest story that only you have lived. The journey filled with detours, breakdowns, breakthroughs, and lessons you didn't ask for. That story, the one you sometimes try to forget or rewrite, is the most powerful thing you carry. So often we compare our lives to the highlight reels of others. We scroll through curated perfection, assuming that our pain disqualifies us, that our past makes us less than, that our journey is too different to matter. But the truth is, no one else has lived what you've lived. No one else has felt what you've felt, fought what you've fought, or risen the way you have. Your story holds wisdom. It holds strength. It holds a truth that someone else in this world desperately needs to hear. There is something sacred about the journey you've walked through. Maybe it wasn't easy, maybe it wasn't fair, maybe it still hurts to think about, but that part of your life, the part you thought would break you, is the very part that shaped your resilience. That moment when everything fell apart became the moment you discovered your ability to rebuild. Those seasons of silence, of confusion, of pain, they weren't wasted. They were writing a testimony that's still unfolding. Your story doesn't have to be perfect to be powerful. It just has to be real. It doesn't need a happy ending to have meaning. What matters is that it's yours. And when you choose to own it, when you choose to stop hiding the parts that scared you the most, you give others permission to do the same. You become a light in someone else's darkness. You become proof that healing is possible, that survival is beautiful, that rising is worth it. There are people who will never open up until they hear your voice. There are hearts that will never heal until they know they're not alone. And that's why your story matters. Not because it's flawless, but because it's authentic. Not because it's grand, but because it's true. When you speak from your scars instead of your wounds, you bring healing. When you stop apologizing for your truth, you start standing in your power. Every chapter you lived, even the ones you wish you could erase, contributed to the person you are today. The pain taught you empathy. The rejection taught you boundaries. The heartbreak taught you what love is and what it isn't. The waiting taught you patience. The failure taught you resilience. These are not just memories, they are milestones. They are markers of growth, strength, and the grace that carried you through. You were never meant to live in shame over your story. You were meant to rise because of it, to use it, to share it with someone who feels like they're the only one going through what you've already come through. And no, not everyone will understand it. Not everyone will applaud it. But the people who need your truth will find it. And when they do, they will be changed by it. We often think our power lies in hiding our past, in pretending we've always been strong, always had it together. But real power lies in the vulnerability of saying, this is what I've walked through and I'm still standing. That kind of honesty transforms lives. That kind of story builds bridges. That kind of story, your story, carries a weight that nothing else can replace. Beauty lies in rising after falling, not in never falling, not in avoiding failure or heartbreak or pain, but in the quiet, determined decision to get back up when everything inside you tells you to stay down. Life will knock you down. That's not a possibility, that's a certainty. You will be disappointed. You will be misunderstood. You will face moments when the weight of the world feels too heavy to carry. But the most beautiful stories are written by those who refuse to let the fall define them. Falling doesn't mean you're weak. It means you tried. It means you cared. It means you reached for something bigger than yourself. And yes, sometimes that reaching leads to pain. Sometimes it leads to loss. But it also leads to growth. It leads to clarity. It leads to strength you never knew you had. Every time you fall, you are being given a chance to rise stronger, wiser, braver. The world may only see the moment you get back up, but you will know the struggle it took to stand again. You will remember the nights you cried silently, the moments you doubted your worth, the days when your soul felt numb. But those moments didn't break you. They became part of the foundation beneath your strength. Because real strength doesn't shout, it whispers. It whispers, try again when you've failed. It whispers, one more step when you're tired. It whispers, you are still worthy even when you feel lost. There is something sacred about the human spirit's ability to begin again. We don't rise the same as we were before. We rise more humble, more grateful, more aware of what really matters. We stop chasing perfection and start chasing purpose. We stop trying to prove ourselves and start learning to love ourselves. We see our scars not as reminders of defeat, but as proof of survival. You are not less because you've fallen. You are more human, more relatable, more real. Your fall is not your failure, it's your fire. It's what burns away everything that doesn't serve you. It's what reveals the parts of you that are unbreakable. And when you rise, you carry with you a power that cannot be faked. The power of someone who knows pain but still chooses hope. We often admire the rise, but it's the fall that teaches us who we are. It's in the pit where we meet our fears, our limitations, our shadows, and it's in that confrontation that we begin to transform. We realize we are not defined by a single moment. We are not limited by our past. We are not disqualified by our mistakes. We are shaped, refined, strengthened, not in the moments of applause, but in the silence of our lowest points. There's a quiet kind of beauty in the soul that's been shattered and still dares to dream, in the heart that's been broken and still chooses to love, in the person who's been through darkness and still chooses to walk in light. That kind of beauty cannot be manufactured. It's earned, it's lived, it's felt in the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, the way you offer compassion to others who are still finding their way. No one rises without first falling. No one grows without first being stretched, challenged, even broken. But those who rise, not just once, but over and over again, they carry a beauty that doesn't fade. It's not surface level. It's not dependent on appearance or approval. It's the beauty of resilience, the beauty of grace, the beauty of a soul that refuses to give up. You are worthy as you are, not as you should be. In a world that constantly tells you to be more, do more, fix yourself, and meet an ever-moving standard of success or beauty or perfection, it's easy to forget that you were born with worth that cannot be earned or taken away. You don't have to become someone else to matter. You don't have to check every box, meet every expectation, or prove yourself to anyone. You are enough. Right now, in this moment, even with all your flaws, doubts, and insecurities. We've been conditioned to believe that our worth is tied to achievement, that we are only valuable when we are productive, impressive, or validated by others. But the truth is, worth is not a goal to be reached. It is the starting point. It's the unshakable truth that you carry simply because you exist. You don't have to earn the right to be loved. You don't have to chase your way into being accepted. You don't have to become perfect to be deserving of peace. The pressure to always be better, to always improve, can feel overwhelming. Yes, growth is beautiful and striving for better is a part of life. But growth rooted in shame is different from growth rooted in self-love. When you believe you are only worthy if you change, you will never feel whole. There will always be another thing to fix, another reason to withhold love from yourself. But when you realize that growth can come from love, not lack, that's where true transformation begins. You can have goals, dreams, and plans, and still know that your value isn't dependent on whether they succeed or fail. You can make mistakes, fall short, and still be worthy of grace. You can carry pain, doubt, and imperfection and still walk with dignity. There is no requirement for worthiness. There is no list you have to complete, no version of yourself you must become before you're allowed to take up space, to speak your truth, to live freely. So many people are waiting until they feel like they are enough to start living fully. They wait until they lose the weight, get the job, find the relationship, heal the wound. But life is not waiting. Your worth is not waiting. The world doesn't need the polished version of you. It needs the real one. The one who wakes up tired but still tries. The one who doubts but still shows up. The one who's been hurt but still chooses kindness. There is freedom in accepting yourself as you are. Not in a way that denies growth or responsibility, but in a way that honors the present moment. In a way that says, I may not be where I want to be, but I am still worthy of love, joy, and peace today. You don't have to wait until you reach some imagined level of perfection to give yourself kindness. You don't have to prove your value to anyone, not to your family, not to society, not even to yourself. You are not made to chase validation. You were not made to constantly earn your place in this world. You were made to live, to breathe, to experience the fullness of life without apology. The things you think disqualify you, your past, your wounds, your quirks, they don't reduce your worth. They are part of what make you beautifully human. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not too much or not enough. You are you, and that is more than enough. Your worth is not something you find, it's something you remember. It's something you come home to. It's the steady voice inside that says you are already whole. Even when the world forgets, even when the noise outside tries to convince you otherwise, that truth remains. After everything, the falls, the pain, the healing, the rising, the truth that remains is this: you are not defined by your scars, your setbacks, or the standards the world tries to place on you. You are defined by your strength to keep going, by your courage to show up when it's hard, by your decision to keep believing in something greater, even when your voice trembles. Perfection was never about flawlessness. It was never about meeting a checklist or achieving some impossible ideal. Perfection is about wholeness. It's about embracing every part of your journey, the light and the dark, the wins and the wounds, the triumphs and the tears. What makes you perfect is not the absence of failure, it's your persistence after it. What makes you perfect is not how untouched your heart is, but how beautifully it beats despite being broken. It's your ability to rise with grace, to walk in honesty, to love deeply even when you've been hurt. It's your choice to be vulnerable in a world that tells you to hide. It's your decision to use your story not as a weight that holds you back, but as wings that help others fly. In every crack, there is light. In every broken moment, there is a lesson. In every silent season, there is a whisper guiding you forward. You are not lost. You are not too late. You are being shaped, refined, and prepared for something only you can carry. And no one else can walk your path the way you do, with your resilience, your wisdom, your fire. So don't wait to feel ready before you start living fully. Don't wait for approval before you stand tall. Don't wait for perfection before you call yourself worthy. You already are. You always have been. This is your reminder, your truth, your calling. You are enough. Your pain has purpose, your story has power, your presence has weight. You are a masterpiece in progress, not because you've arrived at some final destination, but because every step you take, every truth you speak, every time you rise, you reflect something divine. What makes you perfect is not that you have it all together, it's that even in the mess you keep going. You keep loving, you keep becoming, and that is a kind of perfection the world can't define, but your soul already knows.